Yikes.
Are you
Welcome, guys.
Let's
Wow.
go.
Welcome to the
incredible.
season. How about a game one?
That's the kind of team we're going to watch all year, guys. That's it right there. I'm telling you.
Well, welcome to the season. There's a ton of you guys waiting. Sorry for making you
good
wait.
And a bad thing.
We had the overtime threw us, had a couple technical difficulties. Just a heads up, Bobby.
We had to fire Bobby. It was very sad, but it had to be done.
Oh, don't do Bobby like that. Shout out to Bobby at MSG. He just took in a classic, so that's what's up.
Yeah, he did.
Fired Bobby on day one. I was unreal.
I just feel like he's still just staring out at the court right now, just not even sure what he just witnessed.
Zannis hated that backdrop of NYC. He said, Bobby, you're done. That's it. That's not what I want.
Day one, and Bobby is out. So Bobby and Sherrod are both there, which is cool. They're listening in on email. Bobby might duck over and hear from Kemba, and they're going to jump on this show. So we're going to hang out with you guys for a bit. It was so fast and furious, guys. I can't even unpack what we just saw over the last two overtimes, because you had your storylines building as the game went on, and then it was like a Rocky fight. It was just like two guys just friggin' punch. It was unreal, and I don't even know what happened late there. I mean, you could probably point to 10 different things execution-wise that could have gone differently down the stretch, but the fact that they were even there was remarkable. So I don't know where to start. I mean, you know
where to start, John. You know where to start.
Wait, are you doing?
Oh, am I doing?
Get out of there, Jimmy!
Dude, I'm just trying to read the comments because
I was wondering what you were doing. You were like, "What are you working on over there?"
That's why I don't give him studio control.
Dude, I don't want studio control. I like to be in my own world. I don't want studio control.
Yeah, Jimmy's gonna.
I'm just trying to read the comments, man.
So,
I don't even know how to use this stupid thing. Anyways, go on. So I'm just not going to see comments. So if you talk to me, sorry.
You guys start like this. It was crazy. You had, Grant starting, Marcus Smart in there, a bunch of different things going on. If we have time, we might get to Jalen Brown later.
Yeah, I don't know how much time we're doing, how long the show is going to be, but if we can squeeze it in, then maybe we will.
If we have time, we'll get to Jalen.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's where we start. Come on, man. We got to start with Jalen.
Well, no, look, Jalen. We can spend an insane amount of time on Jalen because it is interesting. We did a column today on CLNS Media with some predictions talking about the Tatum and Brown kind of dynamic. It is interesting. We were texting each other right at the end of the game. The two alpha situation kind of coming into play there, and how that's going to work. So let's start at the end, okay? Furious comeback to get back into it. Jalen Brown is having a career game. And looks like the best player on the court. It's not even close. And Tatum was brutally bad tonight. Not saying
Fournier was a close second tonight.
Fournier, Randle, the Knicks were great. But that first overtime, you had that ISO with Tatum. And again, not to isolate one single play there, that was perplexing to me because, and this was exactly what you guys were saying, is like, that's the 2 alpha problem. And I'm curious if Ime gets asked about it. Did he draw up a play for Tatum to go ISO?
He has to get asked about that.
Or did Tatum get the ball top of the key and is like, this is what I do?
I mean, that's what it sure looked like. It sure looked like he was clearing everybody out for, one-on-one.
And it looked like everybody was down for the program. Everybody was like, okay.
At that point, you have no choice. If your star player is saying, get the hell out of the way, you pretty much have to get the hell out of the way, whether you want to or not. No one's going to say, no, give it to me instead, So I don't know if that's something that Ime drew up. I mean, I don't know why you would. You had the hottest player that you've had in a decade tonight, in Jalen Brown, couldn't miss anything. Literally hit a 35-footer to make that game even possible to go into overtime.
Unreal.
You got to find a way to get the ball in his hands, and that's not to say that Jason Tatum isn't trusted with the ball, but just go with your hot hand. It's not rocket science. Just find out. You had 20 seconds to get him the ball. You could have gotten him the ball, and he could have done the same damn thing that Tatum tried to do, which was go one-on-one with somebody and try to get an opening and take the shot. So I was a little disappointed. I thought that Tatum forced it a little bit there. I thought he was trying to get himself going. And even when he got that nice second overtime, the spin move, drive to the hoop, rolled it in for the and one, you could tell he was pissed at himself. Even though he should be fired up because he just got that, basket, he was finally I got a point. Finally I got mine. So I didn't love it, but I don't want to dwell on the negativity. I do want to, believe it or not, I do want to talk about Jalen Brown a little bit in this show, and I was just very impressed by his, showing up on the biggest stage. What?
No, I was like, it was
okay.
amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, Sean, Madison Square Garden, every basketball player will tell you is like the dream place to play. There's no better place in the world to play. For him to show up on opening night when the Knicks fans are fired up because the Knicks are supposed to be good this year, and they looked pretty solid tonight.
Fun environment. That would have been an awesome game to be at.
Must have been so fun. So to have a guy like that who embraces that and lives for those moments, I mean, that just reminds me of, and I'm not comparing him, but it reminds me of when Pierce and KG put together that Madison Square Garden performance where Pierce hit that game winner. And, that whole famous, Nate Robinson jumping on Pierce and falling over the back and all that stuff. Kind of was that level of performance. And those are yeah, exactly. Those are the things you remember for the rest of your career.
And then you see Nate's legs just go over him.
Yeah, to complete somersault.
It's so good.
But, they came up short in the end, which is too bad. But, I mean, they were all so dead. I mean, the first game, they're not even in shape, half these guys yet, and they're going 45 minutes out there.
Yeah, I was not got 3 alley-oops this game, John. I know you kept a close eye on that. You even tweeted about it. John was like, "I see you, Rob. I see you getting up there."
All right, so I'm gonna, because it turns into a thing that gets us so far off track, and then we stop talking about Jalen, and then everyone gets really mad.
Yeah. That's a good point.
I'm not gonna do Rob right now because there was a ton of good. Still some of the stuff I'm concerned with, but just focusing on Brown, and again, I'm not going to harken back. We're not going to start playing I told you so's after game 1 with a series of predictions we put out today, but we've been talking about this all offseason.
My predictions are looking very bad so far.
John's looking really good. I'm surprised you led with that.
No, but I'm not, like I said, it's not a victory lap.
6th seed is in play.
It's observational. The Tatum thing to me, the Tatum Brown dynamic is so interesting because, and what I wrote about today was that Brown keeps improving year over year in ways that you're like, I didn't think he could do that, and then he didn't play all off season. He's got his wrist in a cast. He can't really dribble. So I'm like, oh crap. The one thing he needs to work on more than anything is his handle, because that's the thing he's got to just continue to lock up to be able to get where he wants to go. Then he gets freaking COVID. He's got an inhaler on the sideline. He's practiced for like 10 seconds and he just comes out there and he looks like mid-season Jalen, but like better. Like the handle is so confident. His eyes are up the whole time. He was making plays. He was one of the better playmakers out there today. And that's a thing he doesn't really do. He was engaged on defense. He was just phenomenal, like in so many different ways. It wasn't just one of those games where Jalen gets hot from behind the arc and just gets unconscious. He was just awesome in every facet tonight.
But John, this is the perfect example of why I'm not quite sure that 2 alphas can work on the same team, right? Or at least
he was successful. Awesome.
I'll take 2 alphas over 1 alpha.
But this is the perfect example, though, right? There was like a 5-minute stretch in that fourth quarter where Jalen barely touched the ball, and everyone was okay with that because at the end of the day, Tatum's going to get his shots, and not for nothing. Obviously, Tatum got the one at the end, but he also got a handful of other opportunities before that, and he came up dry every single time. They didn't look for Jalen. Jalen did what we've seen from Jalen in the past, where it's like, okay, I'll get mine. I'll go off in the first half, and then, I'll pick my spots, or at least I'll wait till the ball finally comes to me, and I'll pick my spots to attack. But there is no setting up. There is no initiative because that's not who Jalen is. And maybe that's a part of this as well, too. Maybe Jalen needs to be more assertive. Maybe we'll see what he does, in game 30 or whatever, or halfway through the season. But for the most part, I can't help but wonder if Jason Tatum got off to the same start that Jalen Brown got off to, would he not have scored 50 points, right? Like, I feel like if Jalen...
Because he'd keep getting fed.
Exactly. If Tatum got off to that same kind of start, there's no way he finishes with less than 50 points, or what Jalen finished with. I feel like if Jalen, one, maybe if he was more assertive, that helps. But 2, if you're Ime, you got to hook your guy up. If you're Ime Udoka, okay, we're calling timeout and we're setting up plays for Jalen. Jalen's the hot one, okay? We went with Tatum. Tatum came up dry 3 straight possessions. And they're lazy shots, too. That's what drove me crazy more than anything. Laid back, 3-pointers, lazy threes. What happened to going to the middle and attacking the rim?
Who's this, Tatum?
Tatum, yeah, the way he was doing the entire preseason. What happened to that?
So I got a couple beefs there. Are you okay, Jimmy? You hear us?
I don't know what just happened. This thing just reloaded. This whole thing... I'm doing this video.
Don't touch anything.
Under protest. I didn't touch anything. I'm right here.
Stop touching shit. All right, stop.
I didn't touch anything.
Ooh, what's this do?
Exit.
Don't press the big red button. So this is a more global thing, and I am curious. And again,
what is Josue saying? I missed his final point.
He was saying Tatum kind of reverted back to, and if you look at the shot chart, so there's.
I just think Tatum missed shots. I mean, if Tatum was hitting his shots, this game doesn't even go to overtime.
Yeah, but it was that ISO Tatum.
The whole Tatum conversation was
in overtime. Yes, it was, but he was missing a ton of threes that he typically would hit.
But that's not it. The whole Tatum conversation we had all offseason was that he's bigger, so he should be able to get downhill a little bit better. He should get to the free throw line more, and
he was doing that the entire preseason. He was doing that.
And he was doing it in the preseason, and he was 2 of 15 from 3, and it was and he took 5 free throws in a double overtime game that he played 45 minutes. That's got to be 10. That's got to be 12, 15 free. That's got to be 10, 12, 15 free throws.
He was taking
the Celtics only took 23 free throws as a team all night. They were not attacking, so they settled a lot for.
Those overtimes felt kind of like 3-point contests.
Most of the game, it was a jump shot-a-thon again.
Yeah. You know, Ime at some points throughout that second half or later, closer to overtime, he was just like, "This is what Brad was going through." Holy shit! Like they're all on the same page. And then when it's the fourth quarter and it's a close game, they'll revert to these awful habits. And here it is. Like we barely saw it in preseason. And here it is in game 1. Like. Against a Knicks team that's so motivated for a win, and of course has guys like Julius Randle, who, by the way, did anybody stop him today, or at least try to? Like, I feel like he had his way with any Celtics defender that was in front of him. And matter of fact, Celtics were lucky that they didn't go to Randle more often throughout their overtime. Once they realized, oh, wait a minute, let's go to Randle, that's when it got uglier in that second overtime.
And then Randle, I think, again, he fell into the same trap. I saw him take kind of like a weird 3-pointer there.
They all kind of did.
He was doing that a little bit. Yeah.
I don't think anybody was prepared to play this much, No,
I think actually Rob Williams played more minutes tonight than he played all of last season. Think about
it. Sorry.
Career high in minutes.
Yeah.
Career high in minutes, but yes, career high prior to tonight was, I think, 12 minutes per game under Stevens.
Yeah. So, again, I don't want to get into we don't want to go overreacting to a ton of different things here. But it's the style. It's not the missing in the makes. Like if you treat game 1 like we treat some preseason games, which is it's one game, you don't expect everything that happened tonight is what's going to happen every single game, and they're still working through some stuff. So I'm not like super worried about makes and misses. As you said, Jimmy, he missed some shots. It's the style of shots that Tatum was taking that I thought was a little bit more concerning.
Agreed.
I thought that he was forcing things, especially towards the end. He was trying to get himself going instead of looking for maybe the hotter hand or a better shot.
It'd be better if he I thought if he was a little bit more assertive, trying to get, like, if you're not hitting from deep, get closer.
Drive, get to the line, reset a little bit, That's what they always kind of tell you to do.
And so we had, like, that's the highs and lows of Tatum. I don't have, the numbers would be interesting to dig deep, but I do feel like, there's just so many games last year where he did have these stretches of poor shooting games, and then he'd have games where he just wasn't a factor. Like you texted me, halfway through, he's like, he's invisible. A guy who takes 30 shots, it's hard for him to be invisible. I mean, he was jacking all night. He just couldn't get anything.
Fourth quarter, he was invisible, I felt like.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's true. I just feel like he didn't attack enough. Like we saw, like that first quarter. Well, it was more of a Jalen quarter, I guess, but just overall in the preseason, like I just didn't see that same sort of approach. And I feel like the offense was so in tune with where he was supposed to be a lot of the time, especially in that first and second quarter. He got off to a slow start, obviously, but the easy ones were there. He was getting to the free throw line. He was, like that's what you're supposed to do, right? When you're one of the top or top scorers in the NBA, and you still have this another notch to reach, right? Like when things go wrong, you attack the rim and get to the free throw line. Like I know that's old school, and people might say, oh yeah, that's what everyone says or whatever. But it's hard when you through the in and out of the game. But this is the Tatum that we saw throughout the entire preseason that was doing that. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, like when your team needs a bucket, that's what you're supposed to do. You're the superstar of the team. You're supposed to say, okay, my shot's not falling. I'm going to force the issue in a sense of getting to the rack and trying to get to the free throw line. And I just felt like he didn't do that enough, especially when it mattered most, and whether it was the overtimes,
Dudley,
or the fourth quarter.
Dudley. I just want to say this real quick.
Josue, you're right. I agree 100%. I want to follow on that, but Jimmy, I don't know how long Jimmy's going to be here. So
real quick, I just want to say that
would crack the whip. No.
I didn't touch anything that time. I'm noticing that. I think it's because I had to log in for some reason. This is just refreshing automatically on its own. So this is going to happen, I think, the rest of the show. Just pretend
that's not how it works. I do this literally every day.
No, I'm gonna get booted off, and I'm just gonna come back on. I don't want to hear from anybody. It's gonna happen, but it has nothing to do with me. I'm not doing anything or touching anything.
Was that Wi-Fi shaming that you don't like, Jimmy? Is that what that is?
I have full Wi-Fi right now.
That shit sucks, right?
Wi-Fi shaming.
I feel like Josue on game. I can't be Josue this season. I cannot, and I will not.
Yeah, I set myself up. I shouldn't have said shit.
Man,
that Josue flow.
So we got a lot of Brown talking off the top. So we're good for a couple weeks now, or what?
Yeah, we're done. Never gonna talk about it again.
Maybe Christmas. We'll see. No.
I love the Fire Brad Stevens stuff starting already.
That was funny.
What?
He built this team.
That's crazy. I didn't see that.
Yeah,
it's
good.
Awesome.
I like this one. Right
Can't wait
here.
to see it. Jimmy Homeschool Network. Yeah, get that out of here. Get that out of here. How about our the starting lineup tonight, John?
Well, we're gonna have to eat. I was gonna save Grant a little bit for Bobby because we got to eat it a little bit there.
Yeah, Grant showed out.
Well, here's the thing: he showed
up late, but he showed up.
He showed up within his physical limitations. He literally made like 6 negative plays in the first 30 seconds of the game and just got eaten alive by Randle, whatever. And also every single time he gets the ball down low, he gets swallowed up. He just can't be under there.
It's like a magnet. Everyone just goes, oh, Grant.
Everyone's like, the fat guy's got the ball. And they just go get it from him,
Just rip it from him.
I lost 30 pounds. Thank you very much. I don't want to hear it.
But you know what I mean? They're like, ooh, I'm going to take it from him now.
And you know what drives me crazy? He does the thing where he just leans over. Like, that's the worst thing to do. And everyone just crowds.
When
he
you're
doesn't even get a jump ball out of it. It's
don't go lower, Right.
Yeah, right. But then he makes three 3-pointers in a row to save the Celtics or keep them in it, rather.
But
you can't make this stuff up, man. I'm telling you, this is the kind of team these are the kind of games we're gonna watch a lot throughout the season.
But again, let's not be silly with Grant. He has incredible physical limitations, and it is what it is. Like that's how it's going to go. And if he makes some shots and makes some heads-up plays, he can do some good things. But ultimately, he's Grant. He's Grant. So we don't want him starting. And what makes it clear to me here is that Ime wants this to be a double big lineup with Horford. So I think Horford's playing those minutes late. I wonder, would he have gone gone 3 guards late with Schroeder in there? Because Schroeder's fine for give him the ball and let him handle the offense and create offense on a second unit. But when he's out there with those guys and he's going to hunt some shots and then the ball swings to him and he's going to take that ugly looking 3 like he did a bunch of times in critical moments late, it's not an ideal scenario.
I just feel like they miss Horford in those. I mean, maybe not the double overtimes, but just when they needed to stop, and 2 when things got so stagnant that Marcus Smart is taking back-to-back 3s on the same possession. Like that is the kind of possession that it was a flashback from last year. Everyone's standing around. If Al's out there, that doesn't happen, But then again, his minutes would have gone up. I mean, we'll see. But I mean, I just think.
See you, John.
Oh, I think that's Sherrod. Never mind.
We just lost John, right? I want the record.
Oh, that John?
I'm not able to see him.
Yeah, we got Sherrod.
Well,
what are you seeing on your end right now?
Sorry, guys. No, I got a couple messages from Sherrod, but then we got 2 Josue's up here, so it threw me off.
I'm gonna change it.
I'm seeing just me and you. I'm not touching anything because I got in trouble last time.
What's that supposed to mean? What's wrong with 2 Josue's?
What's wrong with 2 Josue's?
One too many. That's what's wrong. It's one too many.
Wait, who am I not hearing?
Be one, I guess. How's NYC, Sherrod? How's the vibe? How the these crazy Knicks fans? They needed this.
This was great, man. This was a lot of fun. I mean, just to have a full house. People had too much to drink. You got drinks spilled on the floor. You got popcorn everywhere. This was NBA basketball. This was the best.
It's
You know
good
what
when
I
the
like?
Knicks when the Knicks are
Why did
when the
Tracy
Knicks are
Morgan
playing well.
have
It's
those?
fun.
Why did Tracy Morgan have those Dookie chains for? Like it's the 80s.
Well, he
What's
had
up
the
with
LL Cool J from like 1986 chains.
that? He's
Yeah,
That was
missing the
unreal.
Kango hat. What was that about?
no one knows. No one wants to know.
Hey
The
Sherrod, was
That's
it
all I
like
love about New
the
York.
craziest
I
you've
love that.
seen MSG since like back in
It's
the
been a
Pierce
while.
era?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while. It was like this. I wouldn't say crazy. It was just energy, like legitimate energy, like not
Yeah.
that fake game 26 of the 82 game schedule. This was like people were excited to be here, and it wasn't
Mhm.
just Knicks fans. I mean, the Celtics, as you guys know, they travel really well, and
Yeah.
they certainly their presence was felt in the stands. But look, this was fun, man. This was a great game, great
You know what else?
atmosphere.
What else is cool is getting to see you in an invite, like, and not masked up on the 9th floor somewhere.
Yeah, right.
You actually look like you're covering an NBA game right now, which is great.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Do you?
He's not going to see any rats
Did you
anytime soon.
did you just get out of the press conference? You got any nuggets for us?
You know, Ime, yeah, he just spoke, and actually, Rob, Jalen, and I believe can't remember who the third player. They'll speak if they haven't started already. But Ime
Tatum's
was
got to get
happy
some
with the
shots
effort.
up before he speaks.
Yeah, Ime
No,
was
just go
really
ahead.
happy with the
Locked out.
effort, and obviously the game plan for Jalen was just kind of tossed out the window when he had it going like that. They were hoping to play him shorter stints. It didn't quite work out that way because he was literally the only guy that was getting buckets for you. So Ime thought down the stretch, fatigue more than anything else was why they weren't able to execute. When you think about Jalen missing the dunk, Schroeder missing the layup. Tatum was just off all night, so you can't even chalk up fatigue to him. He just had a bad night shooting the
Yeah.
ball. But overall, I mean, I think they're feeling pretty good about this because they accomplished, I think, a lot of the things they wanted to, obviously outside of the outcome. And your boy Rob Williams, I don't know what he did at halftime, but he was not the same player in the second half as he was in the first. First half, he looked like preseason Rob, where we're wondering what's going on with this guy. Second half, different player entirely. The second half, Rob Williams is the one that they need night in, night out.
Still though, and so I, just for the record, I didn't start the Rob talk. So
But since we're here,
You're gonna
here's
keep
the
it
thing
going.
with Rob. Rob played with the guile that we saw him play last year, which is like quick hands, doing different things, making smart plays. I thought he baited Kemba into that turnover at half court there, almost playing possum. He was nope, I'm not really here. My arms are down. And he grabbed it. And he absolutely snapped. Yeah. He was pretending like he was just jogging with him. He totally baited him into that. So those are really clever things that we saw him do a ton last year. Smart plays, taps, running to the ball. Mm-hmm. But the lift still, I know he had an alley-oop dunk. From a standing position, how many times did he, late in the game where he had to jump up and he should have hammered it and he got fouled? I mean, he got blocked, but it was called a foul. Another foul attempt where he kind of like snuck it over with his fingers, rim rattling. Like that's not Rob. He's not getting off the ground like he was, but he had all of those like clever Rob plays. So it was a lot of the stuff we saw, but still not the explosive, freakish, physical athlete Rob that we saw last year.
It was that Zannis tongue. That's what it was.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether that's him just really kind of still processing what he can and cannot do. Now that we know about this, tendinopathy thing that he has going on. Because again, he was a very different player in the second half, and you're right, John. He didn't have the kind of upper echelon athleticism that we're used to seeing, but he definitely had some significantly more athletic-ish plays in the second half than we saw in the first, and certainly in what we saw in the preseason.
Yeah. I what did you guys think? Like I said,
what did I think?
How's that Romeo guy doing?
I'm still worried. I wish we saw more of him. I hate that he may put him in mothballs just because the game got close late. Because I thought he was playing well enough to justify kind of playing some more minutes, but also you didn't expect double overtime, and then he was pot committed with the guys he had out there. But I'll give these guys a bite at the apple on Rob first, and we can get into some Romeo because he kind of continued where he left off. But what'd you guys think of Rob?
No, I'm with you, man. I just feel like that towering, it felt like he's just in the air waiting for those alley-oops. Rob, we haven't seen that yet. And again, I don't know. I honestly believe it's a combination of his new body and him trying to get back into shape and get into mid-season form or whatever. So I'm not too concerned about that. But defensively, I mean, John, he may not be slamming down alley-oops the way you like, but he's getting those blocks. He's getting those stops when the Celtics needed it. So
but
I think that goes a long way for this team.
They're not picking out of the sky blocks. They're kind of roll with the guy and then just block it, kind of right out of their hands sort of blocks. But he's not.
I love those blocks, John. Those are great. What do you mean?
Oh, John, that type of block isn't good. Does it count the same?
I like them in tandem, but you do want to see him get up and just, look, last we saw him was friggin' blocking 100 shots against the Nets and like staying with James Harden, like we were seeing, and he wasn't even 100% there. He's not the same guy right now.
I just feel like, I agree with you, but I hope this isn't, and I know this is
no fouls is good. One foul is
sound ridiculous because he's obviously dealing with something, but I just don't want this to be solely health related in the sense of, we're gonna see Rob for a week and then we're not gonna see him for a week and then he'll come back. Like, I don't want that. I want to see consistency, and if that means keeping his minutes down just to start, the first 15 games or so of the real season, all right, so be it. As long as he's starting, as long as he's getting those reps in there. But again, I'm with you that he looks different. He's not the same guy, but I still believe it's for the betterment of the team in the second half of the season, for the later half.
I don't want to talk about his minutes going down, though. I definitely don't want to have that conversation because that takes me back to last year, which takes me back to his entire time and the narrative about him being a Celtic, which is incredibly talented, lots of potential, but doesn't play enough to keep anyone satisfied.
Right.
And
so let me say something.
Hold on. Real quick, Jimmy. Real quick. What do you have? One foul? Two fouls? That's unheard of for Rob. Yeah. That's a sign of improvement. So that's
because he's not leaving his feet.
Right. Remember, he would foul out
partially.
He would foul out. He would finish the game with 5 fouls.
Though.
Like 8 out of 10 times. So
old Rob, who knows he can jump, through the roof, leaves his feet to and that's where it's a lack of discipline. I think it's a little bit part and parcel there. He doesn't have that lift right now for whatever reason. Either he's slow playing the knee or that weight wasn't necessarily great weight and he's actually playing himself into shape. One of those
by design. It's by design, Joe.
That's my hope. You don't want to think he's reduced already. You don't want to think he's already playing like an older version of himself at still a young age.
Hold on, are you saying $55 million could do that to a player? I don't.
No, I'm just saying you hope physically he didn't turn. I hope he didn't turn 35 overnight. He should be playing like a 25-year-old guy in his physical prime. So you hope that didn't happen where he's just lost it. I hope what Sherrod said is he's slow playing it because he's still a little unsure. But I mean, that's the thing though. You might be cautious, but then in the moment you just do what you do. There's a couple times he just couldn't get up and over the rim. And those are the things that freak me out some. And people are like, relax, he played good, like it's an overreaction. No, all preseason we were saying it. That's the thing is like, is this guy all right? Because you want him to be all right. Because you see what he did tonight and you're like, he could be amazing. But he needs both sides of he needs both the stuff he did tonight and the athleticism.
Yeah, I don't have much to add at this point since you guys just spoke for 20 minutes on Rob and I didn't even get 1 second. But that's okay. It's not a big deal.
Go ahead.
No, I have nothing left to say. I wanted to use that one example of when it was, I think it was the first overtime, Marcus Smart made a really nice pass to him, bounce pass, right at the rim. And instead of throwing it down like he would have last season, he just he tried to just sort of place it in, got fouled. Luckily hit both free throws, which is a great sign in and of itself. Yeah. But you really would have loved that and won in that situation because I think that would have made it a 3-point game if he got that. I forget. But
yeah, I mean,
long story short, have that lift. That's why
you're not Sherrod Blakely.
I will say before Bobby takes over,
Bobby,
the most important number there is the 45 minutes
with the throwback mic flag. I love it.
Yeah, we'll upgrade.
What's up, Bobby?
Soon. Hey, how are you? One of the best league openers ever. That's why I was hearing on the TV.
You're not old enough to say that.
Yeah,
Bobby
I didn't say that.
Was it awesome? Yeah, I mean, you were. What was it like?
Hey, no cheering in the press box, Bobby. Jesus.
I went downstairs. I thought it was over at the end of regulation. There, I watched 2 overtimes downstairs from on the in the media room.
You did that.
Bobby was taking in the final moments with New Yorkers.
You thought you were doing a veteran thing, and you're actually doing a rookie thing.
Watching the game with Glenn and Moose.
Yep.
in the cafeteria.
The memories, John, the memories.
Yeah,
I got to see each of those guys at Fenway the last 2 nights. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's a treat.
Yeah,
That's a
it
treat.
was.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you've been crushing it, man. We'll talk about it later, but yeah.
Oh
see.
God,
What
I'm
you guys been
exhausted.
talking about, Rob?
Yeah, we might
Everything.
get to Jalen later. We did a little Rob.
Good guess.
That is so disrespectful.
No.
Tonight,
We did the first 10, 15 minutes on Jalen. We
Bobby,
saved.
take us inside the press conferences. What did Jalen have to say?
all we got was Rob so far. Still
Oh,
waiting on
great.
everybody else.
What
so I
did
decided
Rob
I'd
say?
hop on
What
here.
did Rob
Anything
say?
about his physically?
Yeah, he said he'll get some ice and be back at tomorrow. Pretty short with things. He had a funny moment with the missed dunks. Kemba yelling thank you to him joking with Evan. He was pretty cheery for a tough loss here.
Is
but
anybody
overall,
asking him about his lift?
nope.
No.
That was a
We're
no,
not.
right?
Yeah.
No.
Nobody asked him. Okay.
Why
Well,
can't-
give
just-
it another shot. Give it another game.
Why can't you jump? Somebody asked that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What
Are you
happened to your
okay? Are
legs?
you okay?
A couple dunks. What do you have? 3 dunks in this one? He was
He had a
getting up
couple.
there.
Yeah.
He
He
got
had a couple,
fouled.
but John wants him to jump over the rim. And he
Here's the
hasn't seen
thing.
that
A
yet.
lot of those, like the one where he.
You've seen those pictures. He's
Oh
like
yeah.
this,
I
you
know what
know.
you're saying.
Yeah, but if he gets fouled, I'm sure that takes a ton off the lift. And then a handful of those he did get fouled. But I get what you're getting at, John. He only had 1 or 2 dunks in 3-4 games through that first quarter tonight.
And a couple attempts that got blocked at the rim or he couldn't get up and over. But
Mhm.
but all of the other stuff he did was, especially Sherrod was saying in the second half, kind of more himself.
Yeah, his switching was sharp. It got better in the second half. He stayed on his feet. I thought the most impressive thing about 45 minutes was 1 foul, as I told you guys in the chat there. That is
That's right.
unimaginable.
That's
Him
right.
being able
Yeah.
to stay that
That's
That's
disciplined.
progress, John. You hear that? You take the good with the bad, all right?
But John says it's because he doesn't leave his feet because he can't, so therefore he can't commit fouls.
Ooh, that's a good theory.
It's not a bad one.
No, I've seen it, John. Like he's not his
Damn
usual.
it, Bobby. Don't buy that crap.
He's not.
Again-
He's not. Why are we sugarcoating it? He might still be. We're not saying the guy's dead. He's not jumping as high as we're used to seeing him. That's
He's a
it.
smarter player now.
He's not
okay?
putting him in Kemba category just yet. He's not saying that we'd rather have a torn ACL than what Rob's going through.
Yeah,
He's not
saying
you
that
did
yet.
say that last year.
I might
He's not saying that
actually
yet.
I might actually say it for Rob, but not
That
yet.
was low key one of your wildest takes ever.
It was also correct.
A million things.
It's better if he just
million-
breaks the whole thing, you know?
A million things happened late in this game, and I'm still processing it all. But one thing that really stands out were those free throws from him. To get within 2 there,
Yeah.
he's not a great free throw shooter at all, but he, sharpened in, hit those. He had some great moments throughout this one, I thought. He filled
had
the lane
great
a ton
moments.
on the defensive end. He was not necessarily the normal ceiling raiser we see, but he gritted through those minutes. And to never be a guy who's playing at that level, and my favorite quote from the post game was that he wanted a triple overtime. He was ready to go for a triple overtime if it was necessary. I thought, even though it wasn't his usual burst athleticism, to be able to grind out this many minutes, and for Udoka to trust him to do that, I'm sure they didn't really have a choice. They weren't going to go to Enes Kanter in this one, just based off how they were getting torched in the pick and roll at times. But they needed him to go the distance in this one, and he did.
Well, let me say this. So one of the things we were starting to talk about, and Sherrod, I'll start with you. The new Celtics versus the old Celtics. Okay, you have Ime Udoka and some of the things that he's focused on and he wants different, and that's passing the ball and this and that. You saw, and commitment to defense and all of that. You'd see it in flashes, and then I feel like they reverted back. As Josue pointed out, Jason Tatum, it's important for him to get going downhill, getting to the basket. We saw it in the preseason. Didn't see it enough tonight. Marcus Smart, he's supposed to be point guard first in the distributor. What happens? He jacks 11 threes.
That was crazy.
And again, we're not – and then he made a huge
Was
one.
it?
Look, it's the full Marcus Smart experience, but he did reach those periods in the second quarter where he just kind of went into WTF land, which is like, I'm just going to kind of do whatever. And you lose that focus of what it is you're supposed to do there. So just like I said, kind of lapsing back into those habits, they got very jump shot happy at times. They played some ISO ball where you want to see them move it a little bit more. So you see like the points of emphasis and then kind of reverting back to the things that you're comfortable with. And I think it's not going to change all overnight, but do you guys see any of that too? Watching tonight just globally with the team?
Well, they were all. I mean, they were doing what you kind of expect the team to do in their first game, and that is show some of the growth that they have under this new regime, but still have some of that stench from how they used to do things.
Yeah.
So you got a little bit of both of those worlds. I like the fact that early on, they really seem to be trying to just keep the ball moving. I think like 8 of their first 11 baskets came on assists or something like that. So they were definitely.
They only had 7 assists as a team with 3 minutes left to go in the second quarter, and they had 6 in the first quarter. So they went through a whole stretch when the Knicks kind of had cut into that lead where they stopped doing it.
I think they had 24 on their first 35 buckets, though. So there were stretches.
There were stretches where they did it, and then the stretches where they kind of reverted back. So,
right. Yeah. But I think part of that had to do, well, I think 2 things. First of all, Tatum was struggling so bad that I think there was a conscious effort to try to get him going. And we know he's at his best when he's playing iso ball, looking for his shot. And I thought that probably took them a little bit out of the rhythm that they had early on, where they were just really just trying to get the ball to.
They were trying to work it, right?
Yeah. But at some point, though, when you're
I guess Tatum was the kind of the stick in the spoke in the right.
Yeah, but even when Tatum was like looking to be more of a facilitator, when you got guys missing open shots or missing lightly contested shots, and you're struggling and you're the best scorer in the team, you're going to try and reel in that passing a little bit more than you probably should and look for your shot. And he did that. But this was, again, it's going to take this team some time to get to playing consistently the way Ime wants them to play. And I thought for the most part, this was a good first step because they gave themselves a chance to win down the stretch. But look at that Knicks team. Take away Evan Fournier and Kemba, and the rest of those guys from a defensive standpoint are pretty much who they are. They're very locked in. And I thought they were the better team defensively in the latter stages than the Celtics were.
Yeah. They're looking for a balance, too. You know, Ime said after the game that they were attacking mismatches, and they were doing so that he was a little too far in the isolation direction. I think the problem he has with Tatum in particular, just from getting to know him so far as a coach, is when he has those mismatches and he settles for the jumpers, you know, the long twos, the fadeaway. That the very last shot of the game, where the ball bounced out to him and he was just kind of getting one up late, that would have put them within one with like maybe 2 or 3 seconds left. He like came up off 1 foot and just kind of like tossed it. Like, there was just kind of
expired already. It was
weird. He was frustrated. Even his and one, which was like the first time he'd gone to the rim in like a quarter and a half. He was just kind of like, like he was clearly frustrated with how he was with how he
probably some
tonight.
Exhaustion too. At that point in the game in particular, but the jumpers for him. This team was having so much success in the paint early on, and you see that spinning make, the and one that you mentioned.
Yeah,
like those are the plays that they need from him in the late stretches of the game, where everybody's got to focus. I mean, Rob's focus in exhaustion time and crunch time was probably greater than Tatum's. Believe it or not.
This is the problem with Tatum. Again, it's not the iso ball as much as quick decision making. He takes forever to get moving towards where he needs to go.
Did you see what I saw, John?
What's that?
They went through those sections. There was some stretches with Tatum on the ball and Brown out of the game, some stretches with Brown in the game, Tatum out. The pace, I was counting the seconds.
It's
between
unreal.
When they get the ball and when Brown was in early in the game, it was like 7 seconds a play. When Tatum was in, it went over 10. Yeah, it was a big difference.
This is the problem more than the ISO. It's okay to make individual moves. He just takes forever to do it. And he just sits and he waits and he's deliberate. And then he starts moving slow, in a certain direction. But the defense sets, everyone else is standing around. And it's just harder for him. Instead of getting it and aggressively deciding, I'm going to attack right now, or I'm going to swing it and move and get to a different spot and ask for the ball back and then go from there. He just doesn't do that. And so you're really relying, I think we keep overusing the ISO ball thing. Jalen's ISOing too when he's getting the ball and going to work there. He's just doing it more aggressively and he's going downhill and he's putting you on your heels by attacking. And Tatum doesn't do that. He makes himself easier to defend because of his pace. So it's a thing we're still seeing, again, seeing one game, but it's a thing it's a point of emphasis that you want to see them, that you want to see them do.
No, and the game swung on pressure and transition. The Celtics were
Yeah.
doing that early and putting enormous pressure on the Knicks on runouts. They
Yep.
did it a bit late with Rob on some turnovers that they forced, and then the Knicks through the middle portions of the game, those like Randle steals and pushouts to Obi just got this place exploding and got the Knicks back into the game in a hurry. They were down by 12, I think, at the biggest point in this one, and just got RJ, Obi, these guys off the bench going with those runouts, and then some pick and roll breakdown later in the game got them. But overall, the Celtics defensively, I thought were fine until they got exhausted later in the game and probably out of focus. The offense, I thought, undermined their defense when they were turning the ball over, being too methodical, or moving too slow.
Oh shit! Shots fired from Green.
So then he's not Paul Pierce.
Well, can I tell you? Can I point this out, because I don't want to make it seem like we're the ones that are like taking the shot. Yeah, I don't want to make it seem like we're the ones that are taking the shots. You've noticed here, like the fan, just Twitter, our comments, and this and that. There's definitely a momentum shift. I've noticed from Tatum's the man and he's our leader and blah 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 into this guy drives me. He's become a polarizing figure. I think that wasn't the case a year or so ago.
Yeah, but I feel like that was the case
2 years ago in the bubble, and that season before.
No, it happened. Yeah. I think it happened last year.
He wasn't that guy, and it started happening a little last year.
I think it started happening a little bit last year, but then those 50 or 60 point performance on top of the 50-point performance, and then what he did in the playoffs, I was like, oh, okay, well, he's just trying to figure it out. He's coming into his own. He's going to turn into that, a premier all-star, every day, every season, or perennial all-star rather. And this is just a growing pains. And then we see him in preseason. We're like, oh, okay, he's taking a stride in, the emphasis of getting to the free throw line, the emphasis of building that body so he can absorb contact.
He did it in the postseason.
Exactly. Do you feel like they had an organizer on the court tonight?
Do
you feel like they had an organizer on the court tonight?
No, stretches they did, but for the most part, no. It was
what
just
did you guys think of Marcus?
Horrible job. Horrible job in terms of being a floor general. I mean, they needed somebody to get themselves in the right places. Tatum was off the ball quite a bit early, and he was getting stuck, and he was trying to do some screen action to free himself, and Randle was facing him, and there was just no one who really stepped up. Brown made a few good plays, but wasn't a floor general per se. Smart's someone you look to. 6 assists, 4 turnovers. He's got to be better than that at the point guard spot. And then in the fourth, 1 of 6 to start, launching threes, 2 turnovers, no assists through that stretch.
Bobby, everyone's staring at him. Like that possession where you get the offensive rebound and you
saw some confusion too with him on the ball. Ime was relaying something to Brown that wasn't getting over to Smart, and they had to call a timeout after that.
The second attempt was almost out of frustration. Like, okay, all right, I'll do it.
Schroeder wasn't doing it. I thought they missed Al on offense big time tonight in that regard. We might end up finding that he's the true organizer of this team.
I thought they missed him on
both
defense.
ends.
I was saying that before you.
Defense more than offense, only because he would have been, in addition to Rob, out there guarding Julius. And Julius had a field day against anyone other than our guy Rob. Everyone else he ate alive. I mean,
my Lord, is he good.
Poor Grant.
Grant Williams was just, turnstile central. Just
nobody had a chance.
But he kept his head up, though,
Yeah, and I give Grant did his best. He made some shots. He did make some shots, but damn, he got torched.
He did
at the other end of the floor.
Fourth quarter, Grant kind of got them back into things.
Grant did his best. Again, we talked about him. He's got physical limitations, but that's as good as he's going to do in a matchup like that.
He can shoot.
That first, let me say this stuff before I forget. That first crucial 3, though, it was almost as if like Tatum was going to give it to him, but then he realized he's wide open. He was like, wait a minute, I'm not going to get this back. And as he's passing it, he's like, wait, yes, okay, good. Yeah, good shot.
Good
job, Grant. Yeah, good job.
When Grant stole that ball, I had zero faith that he was going to finish that breakaway layup. Zero. He was going at 100 miles an hour, and somehow, credit to him, man, he finished that.
6 months ago, he doesn't finish that.
6 months ago, that hits the bottom of the rim, and he falls.
I think there was a play like that last year, actually.
Right. That's what I was envisioning.
I think he just hit the glass and just fell after that. He lost his balance.
Oh, he was good on offense, but the defense, and I got to do an apology cam almost, thinking that he could be a Randle counter. Not even close.
I was thinking
Not quite.
first couple of possessions, and I was like, oh.
How about that blow by at the end that looked like the clincher? He
Like,
just
oh my
walked right
God.
by him and threw it down. But no one stood a chance against Randle. That guy was second team All NBA last year, and that's what he looked like today. He can just score at will, and his touch from the 3-point line and on the inside is just phenomenal. So I think there's a little bit too much pressure there on him in New York, but he's a good guy to have as your number one right now, I think, if the things come together around him. This is an Evan Fournier.
Get to the playoffs, but you're not going to do much more than get to the playoffs with him as your number one.
Yeah.
Couple
They
things,
have to
just
have better for it.
Too much pressure on him.
couple quick updates. Jalen Brown was saying his breathing was a little irregular at times during the game. He just said this in the post-game comments, and this is something Sherrod and Bobby, you guys were there.
But I meditate on the reg, so I'm good now. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he talked prior to the game about that as well. This is, again, it's amazing how good he was here, but it's, again,
so much for 30 minutes, huh?
It's a thing we saw Tatum do.
Right?
Another fun little stat on Jalen as we go back to him a little bit. 46 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. Only 2 other Celtics in history in a game have hit those numbers, those benchmarks each, or cleared them in the same game, and that's Larry Legend and John Havlicek. So that's how crazy this game was for him. The breathing's not good. Breathing is good. Breathing's good, but it's not good that he can't breathe.
Right.
Yeah, having the inhaler.
Thank you, doctor.
Good.
Yeah.
The importance of breath. I was
Breathing
very
is a
worried.
good
I just
Breathing is
Googled
very good.
breathing. Yeah.
Yes, it's always good.
Well, you just have to hope that it's it's just because he's so soon coming off of getting COVID that as the days go by, that'll become more and more back to where it's it's like I'm not gonna say it's like any cold, but a lot of times when you're coming back from a cold, you don't just go from 0 to 100. You have to take a few days and slowly get yourself back to where you were. So, all the more credit to him for coming out in the way he did. I thought he was the only, he was not a bold statement. He was the only guy really giving them any sort of life for 4 quarters. And he was the reason they were in the game really in the fourth quarter. I know he didn't continue that scoring clip in the second, third, and fourth, but for him to drop 20 points in the first quarter and put the team on his back basically, and then finally he got a little bit more support from the guys around him, and then again when it mattered most, he came through and hit some really, really big shots. So for him to do that,
so efficient.
yeah.
Well, you look up 4 minutes in, and it's like, oh, he has 16 points because he does it in so few possessions. He just hammers make after make after make, takes great shots. His profile on the floor is outstanding. Takes a couple mid-rangers here or there, but he nails his threes. He's brutally efficient at the rim, draws fouls in there. And, man, there were some possessions on the fast break where he would go from rebound to the basket, taking the shot attempt in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I think there was even a 1 second possession.
And
now, that basketball clock goes a little slower than I think real seconds do, but come on, rebound to basket in 2 seconds. This guy needs to be driving the offense. The pace.
His handle too. He was splitting defenders in ways I hadn't seen him doing that this year.
Quarter?
Oh my God, he was in tight spaces. Really in a low dribble, really good control.
And T-Mac out there
in ways I hadn't seen him before.
Yeah.
Who are some perimeter players?
You know what? This is funny.
Efficient? I can't even think of any other guys who are just 50% plus constantly.
No,
because it's an inefficient position. You're taking a lot of shots, deep shots. It's crazy to me.
Remember how last season started too? It was a lot of Jalen and being surprised at Jalen looks like he took another step here from where he was season prior, and everybody was starting to say, oh, they might have a 1A and 1B here as opposed to a number 1 and number 2. And now a season later, and we're 1 game in, so anything can happen. But it seems like conversations kind of going in that same direction as it did last season, where Jalen Brown once again continues to show some legitimate a step forward from the prior season. And I think that's what John was kind of talking about earlier when he was talking about Tatum and how some people are starting to sort of go back and forth now between the two. And I know, John, in one of your predictions today, I forget the exact wording, but I think you said that Tatum's kind of, in a way, plateaued. Yeah. Albeit at a very high level.
Yes.
But he's certainly not, the best player. It's not like he doesn't have room for improvement. He could still find it in him to improve.
No,
That's what
like I
John
said,
said.
this is what I wrote. I wrote that I thought Tatum had plateaued at an extremely high level. And people said that Tatum's game's going to be more developed earlier in his career, but I believe that what we're seeing of him is I don't know the next level for him. I don't know it. I don't know where he goes. But
You
with
might
Jalen,
regret that one.
I'm saying with Jalen, you keep seeing year over year, not just
Right.
progress, leaps,
Right,
huge
like we
leaps.
saw last year, right?
And he did it. And right now, after one game, I'm seeing a different version of him already. And he's not even close to physically where he should be, because of the COVID and because of the wrist and the shortened offseason, for him and just not getting his work. That was more what I was saying is I think Tatum, we've seen it. And it really comes down to him being a shot maker, and that's the key to him. But I don't know how much his game changes. Jalen's game keeps evolving. Tatum's is not. Tatum's is about shot making.
Well,
that's how I see it.
Part of that has to do with the fact that I think Tatum came into the league as a more complete player.
Absolutely.
He didn't have nearly as much runway to work with as Jalen does in terms of getting better. So I think that there's some truth to that. But at the end of the day, Tatum is a badass dude. I mean, he got stuff in the bag that guys who are going to be in the league years after him will never, ever have. Guys in the league who have done this, been there, done that many times over him will never be as good as he is right now. And because I think is in that right now borderline top 10 player.
He's been there, right?
Right, and he got there quick.
Okay, that's
he's
fair.
Been there. That's what I mean. He's been there for 2 years. He was ESPN's 11 player last year and 14 or 15 this year. He's already in that All NBA conversation yearly. Yeah.
Let's think about the time span in which this happened. Just 1 year, because there are basically 2 seasons in 1 year.
Yeah.
That bubble jump from him, I saw significant strides in the passing. That year, he was a great defender, which people didn't see in him coming into this league. And it's happened early, but it's still early with him. He's 23, 24-ish now. Like that, there's going to be a lot more Tatum growth in regards to the passing, and there's still enormous potential for him as a defender. I'm not going to put a cap on him. I don't think he's plateaued. And even just like seeing him go from a guy who can score 30, 40 to 50 last year to 60, that's some growth to me. Now, it hasn't been consistent, but it's there.
When he has it going, he's out of his mind. Yeah.
Where can all our viewers read those predictions that we wrote
do you want me
today?
to plug the website?
Yeah, you should, because we all
The
contributed.
website's been bumping.
All 5 of us did our bold predictions, CLNSmedia.com. Ahmed can put the story in the chat maybe at some point, and you guys going to read it. It's a fun read. We'll circle back to some of them later on here.
We don't have to.
But some of them, what's funny is like we're not going to take victory laps over them on one day. However, they all are interesting talking points. One of them was, this is also a conversation we had throughout the season, was the kids and who's going to play and who's going to separate themselves. And right now we've got a Neesmith guy in the room, and that's Jimmy. We've got a Pritchard guy in the room, and we did question if the Pritchard minutes would be there or not. And tonight he only played 11 minutes in a double overtime game without Josh Richardson here. So I don't know what that portends to long term. And then we had Sherrod's guy,
Romeo,
who again looked like
Romeo,
the same guy who's shooting confidently. Yeah.
This is why we didn't want to rule him out.
What is that dance?
You couldn't rule him out.
That's that wedding floor when you're right in the middle of the dance floor right there.
Yeah.
I love Romeo.
His defensive floor was always going to keep him in play. I mean,
but
when
he's
Pritchard
knocking
came,
out shots now, and I'm not as locked in as him knocking out shots as him taking them with confidence. He doesn't seem to hesitate like he used to when it came to, and it doesn't really matter who's on the floor with him. That's the thing about it. It's one thing when Tatum and Brown are on the floor and you hesitate, but even when those guys are on the floor with Romeo now, he's not hesitating if he's open. That's going to open things up for him and the team going forward if he keeps playing with that kind of confidence, regardless of whether the shots go down or not.
Right.
Minus 14 tonight.
He's not thinking, and when he puts the ball on the floor and attacks. I love that. Like that's the kind of player that this team could use off the bench, obviously, but also someone that can give you that muscle on the defensive end. Oh, then you got a spot in the rotation for sure. So he's,
I don't think I don't think he may trust Neesmith's defense at this point.
Nope.
He's not
or
close.
anything about him, and especially when his
Yeah.
shot's not falling. Yeah.
And then Pritchard came in, and my lord, him, Schroeder, and who I think it was Rob who was playing center at this point. Rose was just pulling Rob out to the perimeter. They were sending Obi and Robinson downhill to just dunk on Pritchard and Schroeder's heads in the paint. That was a horrible stretch.
Yeah.
That was the end of Pritchard.
Yeah, that was it. That was it.
Yeah.
And that was the concern is if those second unit, are you playing Pritchard and Schroeder together? It's a weird thing. This is also why I don't love Rob and Al together, because what are you doing in the second unit here with bigs? Like you've got problems there. You're going to be playing weird lineups. When they were really undersized in that unit, when you had Neesmith out there and you had Schroeder and you had Pritchard, that's a dangerously small lineup there. And really your only hope for any beef is bringing in Cantor, and just then defensively you're a mess. So
I was worried they were going to bring him in tonight.
Yeah.
This was not a game they could do that. And, for his credit, they survived some of those Grant small ball center stretches there. They were almost trying to mimic the way they'd use Horford in that regard. And I don't think it was his fault when they got beat up in some of those stretches. He can get out on the wing and defend some of those guys. I think the Celtics are in a good position this year, actually, where when teams try to draw their bigs out, they have guys who maybe aren't experts in that area. But Rob, Grant, Horford, they can all go out there and not get completely torched. You saw Kemba try to catch Rob on one of those two, and Rob just stayed with him and slapped it out of bounds.
Yeah. Well, I do want to take the conversation over there, but anything else you saw from the kids? And again, Neesmith is just it's the only one game thing. But again, when that shot doesn't fall,
this is a big boy game.
Yeah.
So I would say that Langford has the slight, if it's a race, Langford takes game
Isn't that
one. He's got the slight edge here.
It's unreal, right?
We thought he was dead. John sold the stock. We shipped him away. Now he's right.
We thought he was dead because in our defense, nobody had seen him for
Sherrod.
about
He's looking like a Wall Street banker with that stock.
I held on.
Wall Street's right around the corner.
I was the only guy last year.
I'm gonna buy some more tomorrow.
It was dropping when he sold it. So it's
John's like, I lost $1 million.
John literally sold it to buy Grant. So good luck. Grant was fine tonight. Listen, I got my stock in
He was
Neesmith.
not fine tonight. Stop lying.
And I got stock tonight in.
Grant was -5.
I had stock in Schroeder, unfortunately, and that was a tough debut. I thought for sure.
He missed a couple of shots that could have went either way though. There was this stuff.
Yeah, a couple of bad turnovers there.
He is a wild card. Why do
what
you
a weird
I
game.
want to buy stock in him, but man, he's just too damn volatile for me right now.
There's gonna be games where he's gonna drive you crazy and he's gonna win you some games. Yeah.
This was such a weird game in the plus minus. You win by 16 with Brown on the floor. You lose by 16 with Schroeder out there. Grant's a -5. Tatum's a -3. But when Rob's
gotta get
out
better
there,
combinations.
+11.
Yeah, you got to find better combinations that work. I mean, it's clear when you got guys who are playing really, really well and other guys who are playing really, really crappy. It's not that they're bad players as much as it is they're just bad combinations together. So that's part of Ime's growth in this whole process too. I mean, we talk about Tatum and Brown and all those guys, but Ime's got to grow through this whole thing as well.
You wish Ime challenged that charge late?
Yeah, but he explained that though. They had a monitor and they looked at the play and he was moving, and that's why he didn't challenge it. But he was thinking about it, which to me,
that's one where you almost just try it. Yeah,
that's one, you try it, but two, I mean, he slid in at the very last second. Anything you do in slow-mo, yes, his feet were set for 0.2 seconds before contact, but he just slid into that spot. I don't know. I think that was worth looking at.
Well, because let me ask you this: it's so close.
In that situation, I was surprised.
Did Ime talk about the Tatum possession at the end of overtime? Whether that was drawn up or Tatum just took it? I was curious.
You didn't catch it.
No problem.
I have a feeling.
First overtime, yeah, he took the ball up and just.
John's got to come into one of these on Zoom. Just fire away.
just start throwing haymakers.
It didn't look like he called it. Like I said, it looked like Tatum was telling everyone to get out of the way.
We've seen a lot of those from Tatum at the buzzer. Be interesting to look at.
Sometimes they fall. I mean, remember the one last year fell. against
We don't
the
know
Bucks.
what
The opener.
If the last time out, he could have said, "Look, this game is tied. You know, at the end, Tatum, you guys know the play."
But why would you do that? Why would you pick Tatum?
Right. That's why I don't think
That makes no sense.
Right.
There's no way Ime said,
Curveball.
Jason, you're shooting 22%. Take this last shot.
It's not like it wasn't a curveball because everyone in the world knew it was happening. As soon as he cleared everybody out. Right.
He just slowly worked himself into the corner and took a horrible shot.
Baseline shot, yeah.
I do want to talk about a couple of the ex-Celtics over on the other side because it was two totally different guys. First, I want to make a little plea to our audience out here because there's a lot of you on the Celtics side. If you're Celtics fans, you may also be Red Sox fans. We are devoting a fair amount of coverage to the Red Sox playoffs here as far as they go. We have a YouTube channel that's relatively new that features a lot of our Red Sox content, and we are so close to 1,000 subscribers. So if you guys like it, there's interviews there. There's some content,
Series
a few
isn't
podcasts. Series isn't over. We'll have more stuff, hopefully through the ALCS. And we were a couple days ago, we were booking our World Series travel, but we'll see what happens there. But we will have a lot of content there. We're super close to 1,000. We'd love to get over that hump. So if you guys, when you have a chance, you want to hop over there, subscribe to Red Sox Clubhouse. That's the name of our YouTube
Clubhouse.
channel.
Okay.
Red Sox Clubhouse.
Inside, does it say Inside Clubhouse?
Yeah, Red Sox Clubhouse.
Sox Inside Clubhouse.
Jimmy, don't touch that.
No, I'm looking. It says inside, I think, in that.
It shouldn't. It shouldn't.
Okay. Whoops. I don't think it does then.
So very quickly, what did you? So Kemba was exactly the guy we remembered, which is
couldn't play second overtime.
He can't get that. He can't go places. He can't get by people. He didn't have that burst. He's kind of the same version of that guy.
We thought he was.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
disappeared in the second half. I mean, he made one big play. I was like, oh yeah, Kemba's still back out there. So that's
it's the
spurts,
field goals again, right? Where you're like, how many times did we look at Kemba and we're like, he only took 6 shots tonight? Like, what the hell, man? Yeah. Like, he's got to assert himself. He's got to be more aggressive, and he just can't because he can't get to places where he can get shots off.
Yeah. And it's usually either the very beginning of the game or the very beginning of the second half, right? That was a lot of the times last year. So
looks off balance.
They have Derrick Rose there. I see them splitting that time right down the middle. So maybe he's not the worst thing in the world, but I mean, some of those guys are wondering if what could have been. I mean, I think they got their answer tonight for the most part.
Yeah.
I'd be worried. He got looked at as a flyer there, but they also rely on him to some degree. It's either him or Derrick Rose out there at that point spot, and Rose has his own, sustainability issues with the injuries he's gone through in his career. It's too scary guys to be banking on at point guard. I know Knicks fans got sick of Payton and Ntilikina and just how horrible they were on offense, but they could get out there and play every night. These two guys, my big worry is the stability, but also when they're able to play. You got 3 of 11 Rose and Walker. He's still mechanically, even on wide open shots, just looking off balance, not able to get by guys, not great bursts. It kills me to watch because this guy could score like nobody else when he can heat up. And,
right?
Yeah.
And he'll have games like that still. I'm sure there's some days where he's going to feel great, and there's some days where he's just not going to have the burst and the base below him to shoot like this one. But he was invisible for much of this game. He did hit a huge 3 late, though, to put them up 6, I believe, at the time.
They do not have a back-to-back until like the 10th or 12th game of the year. So it looks like he's probably going to catch a break here. Their first one is November 7th, November 8th. So 35 minutes seems like a lot for him. But
he's going to play. That's the Tibbs line. He's going to play.
I didn't miss anything watching him tonight, other than his attitude, other than him, because he's such a good guy.
And that's what bums you out. Yeah. Everybody on the Celtics misses him. Doesn't feel like he was a part of any of the internal issues at all. In fact, he probably helped just with the positivity there. And the injuries, as Brown said earlier, where'd it go wrong? The injuries. That's all it was.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. No, everything. Remember the first season with him, it was like unbelievable, the chemistry and how Kemba was being Kemba, the same guy that you saw at UConn practically. And then right in that like Raptors series, it all kind of went south, and it never really was the same after that.
Yeah.
Would you take him at $7 million?
I don't know. I mean,
yes.
As a backup? Or?
No, as a starter.
$7
Sherrod
million.
says yes.
He
Done.
still has value. I mean, are
Yeah,
you kidding?
you can still play,
You know.
but you're
But as I
still
said,
relying on him though.
This was
You're
another one of
relying
my.
on him.
In addition to my ACL take last year, the other one that I got left off the stream was he's got to come off the bench. I think he's ideally suited to be a microwave style player coming off the bench in spurts.
And
Instant
he's starting Derrick
offense.
Rose.
I think that's.
I think that's what
They got
that's
two
what he
Derrick
is.
Roses, essentially.
I never seen so many bad knees at one point in one point guard position on a team. This is a good Knicks team, but man, that scares me.
Yeah,
I know. I felt for him when he banged he banged knees with who was it? I think it's Schroeder, left knee too. I was like, oof, that hurt him.
Yeah. I did want to mention Fournier. This is a
Boo!
guy who
Fournier's revenge.
Oh
Sherrod and I
man,
said
He had this game.
I was so damn sick of Fournier tonight watching that game.
but
this is the guy I wanted back.
This is the guy who we watched in the summer at the Olympics, and we're like, oh, he's pretty good. And then this is the guy who we were having debates at the end of last year, and it seemed to be the cash goes to Fournier or the cash goes to Smart. We're not going to use one game as a referendum to make that determination. I was more Team Fournier back then than Team Smart, but he is what he is, which is a really overall skilled, quality basketball player, who I think was the closest thing we had to all-star level talent on the team last year. And I just think that gap is a little bit big between the 1 and the 2 and the rest of the roster right now, where there's not a bridge, right? I feel like there's a bit of a drop there. There's solid players throughout, but there isn't high-end talent beyond the two J's, and Fournier can kind of bring that for you.
So here's the thing. Now that Fournier is on the Knicks, we're all going to hear about him way more because he's in that New York market. He might be similar to how he was in Orlando, and just might be like a really solid, like you said, like above average, well above average, great, good player. Because he was in Orlando, you didn't hear about him as much or see much about him. Then he comes to Boston. It just never worked out with the COVID, banged up.
I disagree.
They never got,
Everybody says that.
It didn't. They lost a bunch of games with him still. He never could find his way on the court. He went he had some really awful games. He really had some awful games.
But
in
on
Boston,
the whole,
and then
the
he
stats,
left.
the scoring, it was good.
You
can't find scoring like that.
I think what Jimmy's trying to say is that the Celtics just didn't feel confident to give him that contract, based off the couple of months they had him.
You'd rather have a TPE? What's the TPE going to become? And again, if you really dig deep on this, I think the reason was they don't want to hard cap themselves if they ever do a big sign and trade for a star down the line here, and they'd have $20 million on the books, and you don't know if someone would take that. But if you're just building a team right now, you'd rather have Evan Fournier than Josh Richardson and another TPE. This guy can flat out score, and he did it here.
He can, but my only point was that it didn't work the way I think the Celtics envisioned it. When Danny Ainge made that trade, all of a sudden Fournier missed his time with COVID and just didn't really seem to ever take off and become the player that we saw tonight. Like tonight was the best I've seen Evan Fournier. I mean, by far. And it was the Knicks crowd was going crazy. He looked confident as hell out there. He's holding up the three after his shots. Guy looked like he was born for New York City. Yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable. So it looks to me a great signing by the Knicks. I mean, obviously, again, one game, but we're going to hear about Fournier a lot more now because he is in New York City. So you're going to see him on the highlights. They're going to talk about him in the newspapers, and you're going to say the Celtics, screwed up. But you know what? He's always been pretty close to this level. Now he's just in a bigger market.
Yeah,
it was kind of how he was with the Celtics early on, hitting nothing, and then
he wasn't
by overtime, raining. What, he hit 3 straight threes to open overtime?
Yeah, he was hot. It was real hot.
That overtime
he can
when it was
shoot.
Bang, bang, bang,
That
bang, bang.
yeah,
that
was
was
crazy.
incredible. That was incredible. Sherrod, any other takeaways?
Not really. I mean, the thing I keep coming back to is with this team trying to be a reflection of their head coach. I noticed that there wasn't the usual chirping after calls didn't go their way that we're accustomed to seeing. There was some of it, but not nearly to the extent
you saw guys catching themselves too, Sherrod. They think about it and then they catch themselves. So slowly but surely they're getting the hint that I can't be out here bitching about calls because coach doesn't want me to do that. I could get Grant Williams if I keep doing that and find my ass on the bench. So I thought that was really important to see them in a real game that actually mattered, actually take some of those things that Ime has been talking about, the heart, and try to not get caught up in the whole
ref whining and complaining mode that they're so used to being in.
So what do you think is going to I mean, that's the thing. It's kind of like that push and pull. Like, Ime wants to do it this way. We're comfortable a little bit doing this way. Who's going to win there?
Ime.
Yeah. You
He's
think so?
Ime is ready for war on these tendencies, on these habits he's trying to build.
Yeah, I mean,
it seems it, right?
Yeah, I just think that if one of the players gets it in their mind, this crazy ass idea that I'm going to push back, I'm going to push back hard on him, that's not going to go well for them.
Yeah.
That's not going to go well for them.
He has a mission and he is all in. Even with like his on the court things, they're having a lot of trouble with things he's trying to implement, and he's not dumbing it down. He's not getting away from it. He is all in on these systems.
There were some moments they got to the bench and Smart's yelling, this, and that. And it looked like they were talking about who was supposed to be where in situations like that. And I don't know if that was an example of it, but you did see a couple cutaways. I didn't know. Did they look like they were confused on the bench?
Yes.
Was he trying to get stuff through to people?
And part of and Ime talked a little bit about that, where they were switching everything at one point, and then they decided to switch just 1 through 4. And it seemed like some guys didn't quite get the memo that they were just switching 1 through 4. And so then you've got guys out of position, which made for the Knicks, obviously, it cost them. I mean, they gave up a couple buckets, I thought, because guys they weren't in a position or spots that they were supposed to be in. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've done a lot, so I think we can wrap it. We're back at the Garden Friday for the opener, Bobby Canada. We're going to get last thoughts here, Jimmy. I'm not going to shut it off for you.
Okay.
Bobby Canada's back.
Bobby Canada in the house. Jimmy, what do you got?
Raptors.
I'll wait for final thoughts.
Okay, so final thoughts. Your key takeaway.
Do we have any sponsors that we need to shout out?
Don't worry about it, Jimmy.
All right, just making sure.
That's what I do.
Make sure I get that paycheck.
All right, do your thing. Yeah.
Do your job, Jimmy. Do your
checks
job.
in the mail, Jimmy. The checks in the mail. Don't worry.
All right, we'll do the whip, Jimmy. What do you got?
Not about the game, but yesterday, seeing that Jason Tatum clip on him putting on the Lakers, the Kobe jersey.
That was scary.
That kind of hurt a little. Like, if you're a Celtics fan, that has to make you feel a little worried.
Just glancing at it, right? You just looking down the timeline, all of a sudden you see Tatum in a Lakers jersey.
I'm just scrolling.
Commercial. Remember when Ortiz was trying the hat? He had the Yankees
hat. And it goes, Wally.
Yeah.
I was just going to reference that.
But that was at least a joke.
Wally.
That was a commercial. That was a
Wally's
joke.
like, what the?
He's like, oh, try it on. Whoa, it fits good. Wally's holding stuff and he walks. He just drops everything.
Yeah. He looks just like,
I'm done.
But I have nothing against. Listen, I have nothing against like Tatum or any player like honoring an icon or their
at the core
hero or whatever. That's fine. Right. It's just the idea of like a Celtic player putting on that Lakers jersey and being like this, and pretty much saying like how cool it is and all that stuff. I'm just saying it has to hurt a little bit to see that.
You should never do that.
It probably, but damn, I mean, he told us from the beginning, this is his freaking idol. This is a guy that made him actually want to be a great NBA player. And
you can't deny that.
I'm not going to trip over him putting on a damn Lakers jersey.
I'm not tripping on him putting over it. I'm just saying, is it a sign of things to come? Like, how badly really does he want to be Kobe to the point where he wants to literally go to LA and be Kobe? I don't know. I hope not.
No.
But I'm just saying,
it's texting your ex-girlfriend. Like, you just can't do it. You just don't do it anymore. Like,
oh shoot, you can't do that. Oh,
he was like, really?
Hold up. Hold up.
20-second time.
Never going to end well.
Yeah.
On the whole,
I'm just scrolling through Twitter and I see that I'm like, the hell is going on here? And then I have to watch the video and be like, okay, this makes a little bit more sense. But I'm still a little, skeptical of everything that's going on with that. But anyways, that's my thought.
It's a minor thing, but also I think he's going to end up a Laker.
Yeah, right. Totally. Like, it's not a big deal. He's just trying it on. But also, LeBron.
Also, this dude's got like 2 years.
Yeah.
We'll see.
He'll be alone by that point.
He'll be all alone there. Yeah. All right. So that was Jimmy's. Bobby, I'll take yours.
The injuries tonight were a big deal. I thought overall they did a lot of things that they were trying to accomplish in this one. The fight and intensity, I thought overall, which were big problems last year, were strong. They were flying in transition to open this game, which is what I really wanted to see. That 7 seconds or less just burst in transition, I thought was phenomenal. Something we never saw last year. The defense set an early tone, and they just got punched back and disorganized late in the game, and it's things that I think will get corrected over the long season. They need Horford badly on both ends of the floor. I know Josue and Sherrod emphasized the defensive things they need from him. They need him as an organizer on offense too, and a floor spacer and all these different things. He's not as purely talented as Kemba when we talk about that trade-off, but this team needed what he provides a lot more than what Kemba provided. And once he's back in the fold, whenever that is, I think it's going to become very apparent that he's the X factor on this team. I love Rob. He can raise his team stealing, but Horford brings what they need right now.
Okay, Josue.
I'm gonna keep saying what I've been saying all along, but again, it's gonna be interesting to see how Ime does this with Jalen. Like, we're not talking about empowering Jalen. I'm talking about in situations that we saw, whether it's late in the fourth quarter, down the stretch. If he's failing it, like, I want to see him get set up as if he's Jason Tatum. Maybe two possessions in a row. I'm not saying ISO Jalen, but I'm saying draw up a play where he's going to get the ball at the end. And I think that's something that's really important because these lines will get blurred, man. Like, if we're in game 15 or 20 and it's no matter what Tatum is putting up, no matter the performance, if Tatum it's a foregone conclusion that Tatum's going to get the ball all the time. I don't know if you're maximizing those two's potential. Okay. Like if you want to do the two alpha thing, I'm still not sure it's going to work, but give it a chance. I don't think you're giving it a chance.
It works. It can work. Other places do it. I mean, look, we're sitting here saying you need a third star.
Two alphas today, John? I saw one alpha. It was Jason Tatum.
What I'm saying is, you're saying we're sitting here saying the Celtics have to find a third star, and we can't fit two right now. Like, I mean, I think you find ways to make it work.
Yeah, you make it work.
You check some egos and you make it work. You can't just say like it doesn't. It doesn't, but it does have a problem if one guy thinks it's him and it's not. That's
gonna work, or
especially if that one guy, regardless of how he's playing out there, he's like, no, I want this. That's Tatum. Like, I'm not sure Jalen would be assertive enough to say like, no, man.
You didn't think he was assertive tonight?
I didn't think he was until he got those possessions, in transition, in the overtimes. Like, I feel like it was either Tatum or the ball would swing around. And he would get his touches here and there, but it wasn't nearly the kind of plays or approach that I wanted to see that we saw throughout the first quarter or the first half altogether.
This was the most I've seen Jalen emphasized ever in a game. Empowering him, letting him run sets, just not having him stuck in the corner.
My point is, what I want to see is when there's 2 minutes left in regulation, when there's 2 minutes left in overtime. You know what I mean? Like why did Tatum get those?
Yeah, it looked like,
but that's the difference.
Looked like
is Tatum better at that though?
Because he
wasn't tonight. Now when he's going 1 for 12 from behind the arc, okay, yeah, shoot another one. Like I don't get that.
Ime doesn't have favorites. That's the difference. Is what might have worked in the past. Ime comes in and he's like, no, Tatum's not the guy. We have a couple of the guys.
Right.
Let's cycle through Sherrod.
Right. Hold on, real quick. The final thing. Also, shout out to my dad. Happy birthday, Dad. I love you.
Happy birthday, Josue's dad.
Feliz cumpleaños.
Papa Pavon. You already know. I know you're pissed about this game. Hopefully, this show,
Is he
Happy
up?
Birthday.
Is he up right now?
Oh, he's definitely up. He's fuming right now.
This is one of those games you stay up all night second guessing everything.
Double overtime birthday. Yeah, he's up.
We should have had him on.
I would have had him on.
Got a lot to say, I'm sure.
Sherrod, what do you got?
Yeah, well, I'm curious at this point. How did the Celtics move forward? What adjustments are they going to make? How are they going to handle this loss? Because to me, before the game, they talked about adversity and how Jalen talked about he's real interested to see how this team handles adversity. Well, obviously, you lost the game. It's not the end of the world, but it is a setback without question. How are they going to make the adjustments going forward? Are they going to play with the same effort that we saw? Are they going to do a better job from an execution standpoint? All the little things that you have to do when you don't have the head and shoulders on paper better team than everyone around. This isn't KG, Paul, and Ray. they're not that team where they could just show up a lot of nights and win because they are who they are. These guys have to win by playing a certain way, executing at a high level, and just being put in the best positions to be successful. And Brad Stevens, to be the best version of themselves.
Best version of themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is.
My final ad.
It's like one of those church lines.
My final ad takeaway, I'm not concerned about Tatum's shooting. I think this is who he is. I think they, even if Brown starts to kind of nudge up and it's not 1 and 1A, but they're right neck and neck, I think they find ways to make that work. I'm not concerned about that. The only thing I'm not getting into Rob all over again, but I do want to see that athleticism come back at some point. So the panic meter still about a 6 or a 7 for me. I felt a little better today, but I still got to see it. The thing that stood out the most for me that kind of is going to stick with me a little bit is the one person I wanted to see as a totally different human being in this season was Marcus Smart, and I didn't see it tonight, which is giving himself completely over to the idea of floor general facilitator. Didn't see it.
They
enough
needed him badly in that regard.
at all.
When does that happen?
What?
When do players just flip a switch and change their entire
but it's not.
identity?
But look,
it doesn't.
You know what though? If you're going to be
When they're
about that and you're going to say this is my role and I'm looking forward to it and this is a challenge, and the coach has said I need you to be this guy, you got to be that guy. And so I think that's the problem is like, and this is where we talk about Marcus and, leadership and this and that. Like, it's one thing to go out there and dive for loose balls and be gritty and tough and this and that, which he undeniably is. But the coach on your team needs you to be a certain thing. You got to be that thing. That's what this team needs because they don't have anybody else right now. It has to be you. So I want to see him embrace that a little bit more and be more of a floor general and not jack 11 threes again. And we always go back to how many threes, but it was in the first quarter. He was just taking the first shot available to him. When in the preseason, we made note of it. We saw it would swing to him and he'd be like, my job is to get it over here and to keep the ball moving. He was doing it. And then right off in the first quarter, first 2 times he got the ball behind the arc. He's like, oh, goody threes. I love these, and he just, and he just went right back to it. So,
but I also think that Ime's telling him, like, if it's there, take it. Like I highly doubt that. I know what you're saying, John. I mean, I want to see him think pass first as well, but I guess I don't anticipate that happening that
but I think
quickly.
The game got to a place where he kind of got into that takeover mode. Yeah, we talk about him giving the game what it needs and transforming into different Marcuses. Once the deficit piled up, I think he got a little ahead of himself in terms of the shots and all that kind of stuff, and instead of taking it possession by possession. And what I see from him out on the floor, relaying a ton of information, getting guys where they need to be on the defensive end of the floor, calling guys out when it needs to be done. But when it goes back the other way, when he's kind of in the wrong position on offense, doing the wrong things on offense, can he take it? Because that's key to what they're trying to build culture-wise here. You can give it. Anybody can give it here, but you have to take it, too, when it comes to criticism and just accountability.
Yeah. All right. So we are going to wrap it. We've gone on long enough. We're going to talk to you guys again on Friday. Thanks again for hanging out. For Sherrod, Josue, Bobby, Jimmy, Josue's dad, everybody out. We missed you guys. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Yes, sir.
Back on Friday. Maybe they get a couple players back. We'll see if Al is well and Richardson has got a little migraine. We'll see if he comes back. Thanks all.